Slipping through the coil of space and time. A Mushrooms, Syrian Rue and DMT trip report uploaded by FU-DMT 333 to earwid.org on July 29, 2003. Editor's note: 60 grams of fresh mushrooms is roughly equivalent to 6 grams of dried mushrooms. After completing another successful extraction of NN-dimethyltryptamine freebase from mimosa root bark, I was again ready to experiment with a synergistic combination I have dubbed the Holy Trinity. This combination consists of 60 grams of fresh psilocybe cubensis, with veil still intact, 1 gram of harmala alkaloid extract, equivalent to 4 grams of Syrian Rue seeds, and to top it all off, 60 milligrams of DMT freebase. Keep in mind that the harmala alkaloids are monoamino oxidase inhibitors, which causes these alkaloids to inhibit the production of the MAO enzyme, which breaks down serotonin as well as other tryptamines, i.e. DMT and psilocybin, therefore potentiating the effects achieved by the psychoactive tryptamines ingested. Having fasted for 8 hours, at 5:55 PM I ingested 1 gram of harmala extract in a triple O size gel cap. Promptly following, at 6:36 PM, I thoroughly chewed and ingested the 60 grams of mushrooms and chased it down with a small glass of freshly squeezed orange juice with lime. Immediately after consumption of the fungi, I felt a distinct, hazy, dreamlike attribute to my environment, something I've always noticed upon the onset of a Maui plus DMT and psilocybin journey. From 7 PM till 7:45, I began to progressively watch my ego disintegrate itself into the ether. This process of ego dissolution started out as a delicate web-like structure that appeared to be made of silver illuminating threads of silk emanating from the centre of my field of vision. This web then continued to increase in detail and otherworldliness as multicoloured translucent tentacles began to spiral around each silver thread of this web. As this web-like structure continued to become more intricate, I could feel my ego being overshadowed by what I can only describe as an unstoppable, mechanistic, emotionally void state of consciousness. In addition, there is a crackling noise that progressively encompasses your awareness as this state of consciousness unfolds in your mind. It is quite similar to tinnitus, the musician's curse. I have come to refer to this state of consciousness that develops as mycelial consciousness or plant consciousness. Others I know refer to it as insectoid or even extraterrestrial awareness, or hell, you can even call it the void if you want. It soon appeared as if I penetrated as what I can only describe as a membrane or bubble, for when that happened, this web-like structure became very animated. I lost all my bearings. I knew I was once again in that familiar place known as hyperspace, but I forgot who I was and how I got there. I was in absolute awe as this web morphed into what appeared as a plasma octopoid with flailing appendages, similar to tentacles that were moving very fast and appeared to be tending to some task quite diligently. In addition, when these tentacles would move, they would emit a reverberating set of tones. Each movement produced a unique set of harmonic audio expressions. Soon I became aware that this octopoid was actually redirecting my awareness to these incredible structures that were made with his appendages and harmonic manipulations. Each time my attention would come to rest, I would suddenly feel my awareness redirected to another structure being built that was more spectacular than the last. Before long, I noticed a pressure in my centre, and I realised once again I was contained in a physical vehicle and that I was perceiving the weight of my hands interlaced on my solar plexus. My ego was reassembling itself, and the web and octopoid simultaneously was losing its animate, lifelike qualities. I looked at the clock. It read 7:38 PM. Perfect, I thought to myself. Now's the time to load up on DMT while the Maui is still coursing through my veins. Immediately, I retrieved my DMT pipe, along with the pre-measured dose of 60 milligrams I had weighed out. I started playing a CD of a Japanese shakuhachi flute player, and sat in full lotus position with the DMT pipe pressed up against my third eye, contemplating my journey about to take place, and what I wanted to gain from it. As the music in the background began to play, I began to torch the bottom of my glass DMT oil pipe, and watched as the crystals first liquefied and then vaporized into the chamber of the pipe. I took 4 huge lungfuls, and I exhaled the 4th lungful of smoke, and I was washed away into hyperspace once again. Upon entering hyperspace, I perceived myself falling through a tunnel in zero gravity at light speed. Then once again, I penetrated a bubble membrane, and was in what I refer to as the dome or the control panel, only this time Instead of a perceived octopoid redirecting my awareness to various structures, there was this huge gelatinous, hexagonal Rubik's Cube type machine that would reform itself into structures according to these progressive harmonic tones that permeated my reality, causing various emotions to emerge. In addition, it was redirecting my attention to various intersections of its restructured embodiment. Each time my attention was pointed to one of these intersections or nodes, a vision, followed by a revelation, would envelop me along with an emotion I can only describe as pure elation and awe. The only vision or revelation that I vividly remember was one of humanity's history. I recall seeing many people in positions of power from ancient civilizations from all around the globe. I could see a distinct spectrum of colours for each spirit that belonged to each of these kings, warriors, thieves, martyrs, prophets and shamans. I saw their entire lifespan from birth to death, and then saw how each of these kings and warriors, etc., subconsciously chose the exact moment they were going to die, as well as how they died, and as a result of their choices, their spirits were reborn into the bodies of the leaders, warriors and shamans of the next generation, in order to continue their spiritual development, where it left off in addition to being catalysts for events of novelty that were yet to unfold, i.e., some warriors were reborn as leaders, etc. This process of reincarnation continued generation after generation, up until the present day. As I was coming out of hyperspace, I realised I was emitting these very strange noises from my mouth that were actually driving and changing the visual content of my experience. What struck me as even more strange and amazing was that in addition to every noticeable change in the visual content of my trip and vocal emissions coincided with changes in my physical environment, such as wind blowing, crickets chirping. I felt like a newborn baby fresh from the womb, and I shed a tear in absolute reverence for life and being. Note: do not assume because of the way much of this presented that I believe in mushroom entities or DMT entities. I do not come to such premature conclusions without proper empirical evidence. For me, everything is one spirit, one life, one love. May all of your experiences be fruitful, my friends.